America's best days are yet to come. That's because conservatives like you know and live the values our great country was built on. The Heritage Foundation exists to make sure your voice is heard in the D.C. swamp each day, shining the light on a bright future. The Heritage Foundation stands for your values and won't give up the fight because they know you never will. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Marc Levin.
Marc Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Well, all the so-called Epstein files, whatever that means, will be released, as I understand it. I'm sure names will be redacted, those of victims and so forth, but whatever. Went through the House like crap through a goose and went even faster through the Senate. So these are the weird priorities that we live with today. And despite all the leaks and all the investigations, Donald Trump has not been implicated in anything. Zero. It's like all the talk about his tax returns for years and years, and those are leaked. There's nothing in them. Then a committee in the House on the way out the door under the Democrats, they get a copy of several years' worth. They release them. Nothing in there either. And Marjorie Trader Greene, been calling her that a long time. She upsets her a lot, and that's why I do it. And Thomas Messi, they were with some of the victims today. I don't know, did they have something to do with the prosecution of Epstein and the and bringing justice? I don't think so, but they're big on the release of the Epstein files. Fine by me. I'm just worried about the future of the country. Miranda Devine has an exclusive. I want to get into that about Thomas Crooks. And there's a whole lot going on. We have a couple of great guests, Governor Mike Dunleavy. They have discovered unbelievable rare earth minerals in Alaska that can make a huge change for this country in terms of our reliance on communist China. And Dr. Marc Siegel has a new book out. We'll talk to him in hour 3, and we'll be ready to roll. So a lot to do. And yet I'm going to touch on something. Oh, Saudi Arabia. I feel for you 9/11 families. I really do. You've never gotten the answers you deserve. You never have. Which cut is it, Mr. Producer? Let's see, it's cut 1. It's not cut 1. It's cut 2. Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince, in the Oval Office today. Reporter asked about 9/11. And, 15 out of the 19 hijackers were Saudi citizens. And we know Qatar's role, one of our best friends in the Middle East now, with KSM. And now we have the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, another of our new best friends. And we're going to sell them our most technologically advanced jet fighters, F-35s. So it's only a matter of time till this incredible technology that you and I spend hundreds of billions of dollars on will be obviously shared and leaked with other countries, because you can't keep a cap on that stuff forever. not with a country that really is a new friend, should I say. Oh, yeah, a new friend. And he says, yeah, we'll do the Abraham Accords as long as Israel sets up a Palestinian state, and then I'll continue, which could blow it off the face of the map. That's fine. So now Saudi Arabia is dictating to Israel. But that's okay. This guy's being treated like I've never seen a world leader treated in my life. Have you ever seen any world leader treated like this, Mr. Producer? Some ceremony. We had horses. They were beautiful. F-35s flying in beautifully organized into a V, and so forth and so on. Money talks. Who was it that said it? Congressman Smith from South Philly years ago in a great Democrat Party scandal in Washington. He said, money talks and bull, you know what, walks. And God knows the Arabs have a lot of money. Just by fate. Just a lot that's under the ground. And you know who discovered most of it? The British. All right, here is Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince, about Osama bin Laden using Saudis. Of course, Osama bin Laden was from a very wealthy, prominent Saudi. What is it? Osama bin Laden. What did I say? Obama bin Sorry, slip of the tongue. My mouth broke. Osama bin Laden. I can hear my wife yelling at the... It's Osama bin Laden, like Mr. Producer just did. All right, we know who it was. Cut 2, go.
I feel painful about, the families of 9/11 in America, but, we have to focus on reality. Reality based on CIA documents and based on a lot of documents that Osama bin Laden, he used Saudi people in that event for one main purpose, is to destroy this relation, to destroy the American-Saudi relation. That's the purpose of 9/11. So whoever buy in that means they are helping Osama bin Laden's purpose of destroying this relation. He knows that strong relation between America and Saudi Arabia, it's bad for extremism, it's bad for terrorism. And we have to approve him wrong and to build our relation, to continue developing our relation. It's critical in the safety of the world. It's critical against extremism and terrorism. About the journalists, it's really painful to hear, anyone that been losing his life for no real purpose or not in a legal way, and it's been painful for us in Saudi Arabia. We've did all the right steps of investigation, etc., in Saudi Arabia, and we've improved our system to be sure that nothing happened like that, and it's painful and it's a huge mistake, and we are doing our best that this doesn't happen again.
I think in that case he's talking about Khashoggi, the latter part there, where he was grabbed and murdered, cut into pieces, thrown in a vat of acid and so forth, and so horrific. And he says, I didn't know anything about it. He didn't know anything about it. The CIA said he had to know something about it. President today said that he didn't know anything about it. So there you have, whether he did or not. But all that said, the 9/11 families are not happy with Saudi Arabia. This answer is bullcrap in my view. These terrorists didn't attack us to damage the relationship between the United States and Saudi Arabia. They attacked us because they were homegrown radical Islamists out of Saudi Arabia that attacks the West. That's what they did. In a horrendous way. And if you had told me, it's just Mark's opinion, not criticizing, I'm just giving my opinion. If you had told me right after 9/11 that we'd be selling our most highly advanced jet fighters to the Saudis, I would say, you're smoking something. Now, there are geopolitical reasons for working with the Saudis, no question about it. They hate Qatar, hate them, because Qatar has used terrorism to try to overthrow that monarchy in the past. But I think Qatar is our best friend too, no, Mr. Producer? Oh, yeah. And they didn't get F-35s, but they got a memorandum of understanding or an executive order or something. I think an executive order that we will defend them to the last American soldier if we have to. So we're defending Qatar, and we're selling our top jets to Saudi Arabia, and I'm wondering why. Who is Qatar's military threat? Israel, you might say, but Israel's not. If Israel had wanted to take out Qatar, they would have taken him out a long time ago. Who is Saudi Arabia's great threat? It's actually Qatar. Now that the Israelis took out Iran, they're not given enough credit for it. The bombing of the nuclear sites was crucial, absolutely crucial, and the president said he was going to take them out come hell or high water. God bless him. So important. But the Israelis defeated Iran. Just the way it is. Yes, with our equipment, but a lot of countries get our equipment and they can't fight their way out of a paper bag. That's the truth. We sent a lot of equipment over to Afghanistan. Now the enemy has it. And unfortunately, the Afghanis were not very effective in fighting the Taliban, which represents about 14% of the country. The Israelis whipped every surrounding country and terrorist organization in a period of 2.5 years, including Iran. So it's not just the equipment, it's certainly important. It's also the nature of the warriors, their leaders, and this is one of the reasons the anti-Semites in America hate Netanyahu so much. Because he's such a tremendous leader. It's also why they hate Trump so much on the left. He's a tremendous leader. I don't necessarily agree with all this activity so quickly in terms of our F-35s, and we will fight to the end for Qatar and so forth and so on. This stuff will have to shake out over time, I suppose. Now, the Crown Prince says, look, we want to be part of the Abraham Accords, but only if the Israelis create a pathway to a two-state solution. There is no two-state solution. I want you to look at the map. I want you to look at the size of Saudi Arabia. It's massive. Massive. It's massive, like Brazil. It's massive. There it is. They won't take one Palestinian from Gaza or anywhere else. Not one. They have plenty of land to give to the Palestinians. The Palestinians have as much claim to the land, in the Holy Land, as they do to Saudi Arabia's land, meaning none. Zero historical claim. Zero. Their real claim is with Jordan, but he wants nothing to do with them. The country's already over 70% Palestinian. They tried to overthrow his father, so he wants nothing to do with that. Egypt wants nothing to do with it. But listen to this. Cut 3, go.
We want to be part of the Abraham Accord, but we want also to be sure that we secure a clear path of two-state solution. And today we have a healthy discussion with Mr. President that we're going to work on that to be sure that we can prepare the right situation as soon as possible. So he's going
to work on the president on that? Is that what he's saying, Mr. Producer? Sounds like he says, we're going to work with the president on that, and he upped his investment in the United States from $600 billion to $1 trillion. And what did the president say? Cut 3, go.
I think we're, I don't want to use the word commitment, but we've had a very good talk on the Abraham Accords. We talked about one state, two state. We talked about a lot of things in a short period of time. We'll be discussing it further, too. But I think you have a very good feeling toward the Abraham Accords.
Yes, definitely, Mr. President. We want peace for the Israelis. We want peace for the Palestinians. We want them to coexist peacefully in the region.
You're not going to have peace for the Palestinians because the Palestinians are killing each other. Don't you get it? He gets it. I thought the president's answer there was pretty good, actually. I did. And I don't want to spend all night on this because we have a lot to do. We'll be right back.
Marc Levin.
Folks, I have a question for you. Do you believe America's best days are still ahead? With the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence coming up in less than a year, my friends at the Heritage Foundation are taking stock of the current situation, and they need your input. They've launched a survey on America's future to gauge how Americans feel right now about where we are as a nation and where we're headed in the next 250 years. You know, for decades, your American values have been under attack, but now, with President Trump's administration in office, we have an opportunity to turn the tide and usher in a new golden age for America. But the Heritage Foundation needs to hear from you. What policies do patriots like you most care about? What do you believe are the defining principles of America? What legacy do you believe we should pass on to the next generation? Please visit heritage.org/Levin today and share your feedback and help shape the future of America. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation. Miranda Devine's on top of things today, that's for sure, about Thomas Crooks in the great New York Post. We're all owed a better explanation from the FBI and Secret Service about the attempted assassination of Donald Trump 16 months ago at a campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. The president himself remains unsatisfied with the answers he's been given about the circumstances leading to 20-year-old Thomas Crooks climbing on a rooftop with an AR-15 style rifle and firing 8 times at Trump, narrowly missing his head but hitting his ear. So you say, okay, what's going on? There's something very wrong with the official story, she says, that invites conspiracy theories. Well, we've heard that. The president demanded an answer months ago as a man was murdered. What's going on? Then FBI Director Chris Wray, I've told you here for years when he was FBI Director, this is a bad dude. He's got a bad attitude. Told Congress after the July 13, 2024 attack, the Bureau had found nothing in Crooks' online history that pointed to a motive of political ideology. A week later, Wray's deputy, Paul Abbott, told Congress that comments posted on one of Crooks' social media accounts, quote, appear to reflect anti-Semitic and anti-immigration themes to espouse political violence and are described as extreme in nature. Now, thanks to an enterprising source who uncovered Crooks' hidden digital footprint, we can see that Abbott misled Congress by omission, because he left out an entire section of Crooks' online interactions from January to August 2020, when he did an ideological backflip and went from rabidly pro-Trump to rabidly anti-Trump and then went dark, never seeming to post again. Among the 17 accounts uncovered by our source were ones of YouTube, Snapchat, Venmo, Zelly, GroupMe, Discord, Google Play, Quizlet, Chess.com, and Quora. The online interactions from when Crooks was age 15 to 17 give us a better understanding of his evolution into an assassin and invite more questions about what or who reversed his ideology, which is crucial to know. The danger Crooks posed was visible for years in public online spaces, says the source. His radicalization, violent rhetoric, and obsession with political violence were all documented under his real name. The threat was not hidden. Now, we'll get back to this, but, you know, if this is the way it goes, I mean, the FBI should read the comments on my sites, don't you think, Mr. Producer? I mean, there'd be a lot of people to round up, trust me on this. But that said, this is a very, very crucial story, and I don't want to... we have to take a break. I don't want to take a break, but it's a hard break, and I want to complete it. We'll be right back. We're coming upon the 250th birthday of the United States, and it has me thinking, what will America look like 250 years from now? My friends at the Heritage Foundation want to know what you think. What policies should America prioritize? What principles should carry us into the decades ahead? As America enters a new golden age, Heritage recognizes that this is the time to take stock and to be intentional about how we shape the future of America. And they can't do it without your input. So please go to heritage.org/LEVIN and let them know what you think is important. Without patriots like you stepping up and speaking up for what you believe in, America as we know it can't survive for another 250 years. Please go to heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/LEVIN. Take the survey on America's future future. This survey takes less than 10 minutes to complete, but it is critical for making sure that the America we pass on to future generations is an America we're proud of. Go to heritage.org/Levin today. That's heritage.org/Levin. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Mark Levin, America's passionately cerebral voice. Talk with that voice now. 877-381-3811.
And by the way, Iran is slaughtering all the dissidents there. And yes, I did think that we should have finished the job. Or at least let the Israelis finish the job. They were doing it anyway. Oh, he's for regime change. Oh, my God. I'm for defeating an enemy. These morons talk about these isolationist neo-fascists. Forever wars. We can have forever wars. Okay, well, let's put this one to bed. No, can't do that. No. These isolationist neo-fascists are on a suicide agenda, and they will drag all the rest of us with them if we don't push back and defeat them, that's for sure. High number of executions in Iran, no due process whatsoever. Look, I'm not interested in turning them into a Jeffersonian democracy. That's not the point. The point is they're going to be back. They're going to be back with nuclear weapons. Trump won't be there forever. Netanyahu won't be there forever. But hopefully we will, right? That's the point. Let's get back to this Miranda Devine piece, which is really... how come she never gets a Pulitzer Prize? Do you wonder who gets them and who doesn't? It's really crazy. There's a breaking story she's got here. The official narrative claimed that he, meaning Crooks, acted alone and without a clear motive, ideology, or digital footprint. Yet the source found reams of information that shows Crooks was not simply some unknowable lone actor, and I'm quoting. He left a digital trail of violent threats, extremist ideology, and admiration for mass violence. Sounds like an Islamist. He spoke openly of political assassination, the radical Islamists, posted under his real name, and was even flagged by other users who mentioned law enforcement in their replies. Despite this, his account remained active for more than 5 years and was only removed the day after the shooting. None of this online activity was referenced in the final congressional report released in December 2024, making this even more troubling. It is troubling. It's crazy. We have all these investigative techniques, especially the FBI and the Secret Service, but especially the FBI. Wouldn't this be a basic part of the process, Mr. Producer, to look at this, to dig in? And yet we have a party that does this on their own? None of this online activity was referenced. Starting with Crooks' phone number, the source used tools available to private investigators and web archives to uncover the assassin's very visible online persona. Crooks' most prolific activity was on YouTube, with 737 public comments. The account Tom Crooks 2178, visible to other users as Tom Crooks, was created on January 14, 2019 and suspended on July 14, 2024, the day after the Butler attack, for violating YouTube's policy on violent criminal organizations. Well, that was a little late, but nonetheless. So, publicly available processes that private investigators use. This is how they're getting the information. And our government did not. Crooks' trajectory from pro to anti-Trump is evident. He referred to Trump as the literal definition of patriotism in a comment at 1:17 a.m., July 20, 2019. He also issued several targeted threats against the Democratic congressional representatives, quote, in the squad, unquote. He said, I hope a quick, painful death to all the deplorable immigrants and anti-Trump congresswomen who don't deserve anything this country has given them. He wrote at 8:18 a.m., July 20, 2019. Murder the Democrats, he wrote in caps on December 12, 2019. But in early 2020, literally a month or so later, Crooks' online behavior flipped 180 degrees, and he became very critical of Trump, Fox News, and Republican complaints about mail-in voting. So he's praising Trump, kill the Democrats, December 12, 2019, and here January 23, 2020, 5 weeks later, the first time he criticized Trump when he commented on a video of law professor Jonathan Turley talking about Trump's first impeachment. He said, "Keep in mind the only reason we may know about any of this is because of Trump's stupidity," Crooks wrote. He started describing Trump supporters as a cult. He said, "How can you people call others sheep, but you do too, brainwashed to realize how dumb you are," he wrote on February 26, 2020. I mean, literally, you guys sound like a cult at some times. The same day he described Trump as racist. Again, this is 2 months after he was praising him. By April 2020, Crooks was constantly criticizing Trump's pandemic response, saying he was too slow and everything he's doing should have been already done. Through the summer 2020, Crooks' online rhetoric became increasingly radical and violent. I'm telling you, this online stuff is crazy dangerous. Is it not, Mr. Perdue? You see what people are commenting. It's vile. It's threatening. It's dangerous. It's constant. Especially if you're targeted like I am on the internet. We're big boy here. We can handle it, but nonetheless. On August 5, 2020, Crooks wrote, IMO, the only way to fight the government is with terrorism-style attacks. Sneak a bomb into an essential building and set it off before anyone sees you. Track down any important people, politicians, military leaders, etc., and try to assassinate them. Any sort of head-to-head fight is suicide, he wrote, and even ambush surprise attacks likely aren't going to end well. Large portion of the war will also be propaganda information wars. Both sides want people to join them, and big deciding factors wars is often which side has more popular support for them. Among the 17 accounts he had uncovered by Miranda's source, only one on PayPal was operated under an alias, Rod Swanson. Rod Swanson is a former senior FBI agent who was the chief of investigations for the state of Nevada during the 2017 Las Vegas mass shooting. He also previously served on FBI Director Robert Mueller's protective detail as a firearms instructor in Pennsylvania. Contacted by phone over the weekend, Swanson said he was surprised his name was connected to Crooks. I don't know anything about that kid or his family, he said. I don't even use PayPal. I don't even know how to set up a PayPal account. Sounds like me. He said he retired from the FBI in Vegas in 2016, went to work for the Nevada Attorney General from September 2015 to March 2020. He now works in the oil and gas business in Houston. By the way, I want to thank all the people who are finally now reporting on the massacring, the genocide against Christians in Nigeria and the Sudan and other parts of the world. We've only been talking about that behind this microphone for years, posting about it on the internet, and I actually did a show Sunday on Life, Liberty, and Levin with Congressman Chris Smith, who's really been a leader in this regard, this past Sunday on Fox. And now I'm just glad that everybody else is finally talking about it. Christians are being slaughtered all over the world. Back to this. When told of Crooks' online threats, he said there was no way the FBI would not be aware of the teenager. Now, this is a former FBI guy. He says no matter how ridiculous the allegation, no matter if it's COVID or not, somebody's going to knock on somebody's door. If they investigated that kid, there's a record of it, and there's an assessment that some leader made that this was not a threat, or it rose to a level and they did something else. He also said if the FBI had the information about his name on the PayPal account, I can't even imagine they would not have reached out to me right away, he said. Well, they didn't, did they? Given Crooks' pattern of tracking high-profile mass shootings and violent events, the source believes it is plausible that he adopted Swanson's name as a private joke. Like alleged Charlie Kirk assassin Tyler Robinson, Crooks appears to have been interested in ferries. What the hell's that all about, Rich? What are ferries? They wear costumes? Like cats? He described himself with the pronouns they, them on the platform DeviantArt, which is one of the biggest online hubs for fairy art and fairy community. A fairy is someone who has an interest in anthropomorphized animal characters, often a sexual fetish. Oh, okay. Two accounts linked to Crooks' primary email were found on DeviantArt under usernames Epic Microwave and the Epic Microwave. The account suggests he had an obsession with scantily clad cartoon characters sporting muscle-bound male bodies and female heads. Now, one of the people Crooks interacted with online was Willie Tepes, a member of Norwegian neo-Nazi group, the Nordic Resistance Movement, which has since been designated a terrorist organization by the State Department. Tepes encouraged violence and Crooks' extremism using a Maoist phrase, quote, political power comes from the barrel of the end of a gun, which Crooks repeated several times. In one comment on October 5, 2025, more than a year after Butler, Tepes commented to another user that he'd been contacted by both Russian and American intelligence. Quote, people who ask you to contact them when they just as easily could contact you are feds. This is how they avoid entrapment. Both American and Russian intelligence do this. I've chatted to both, he claimed. Shortly after his interactions with Tepes, Crooks disappeared offline. Did his brush with the Norwegian and his own violent rhetoric win him a visit from the FBI or the Secret Service? And Miranda asks, if not, why not? If so, why has it not been disclosed? The FBI refused to comment when asked on Sunday whether Crooks was ever investigated, visited, or in some way brought to the attention of the agency before he tried to assassinate Trump, or whether there was a FBI file on Crooks before Butler. The FBI also refused to comment on why it has not been forthcoming on congressional oversight requests. Former Director Wray told Congress on July 24, 2024, 11 days after the shooting, the Bureau did not have any prior information about the shooter, that he was not in our holdings before the shooting. He said the FBI ran a search for Crooks through its databases and he was not found. Susan Crabtree, an investigative reporter for Real Clear Politics, who has broken multiple stories about the failures of Butler, says her key Secret Service source from the 2020 time period told me that Crooks was not a person of record at the U.S. Secret Service in 2020 and wasn't known to the service until Butler. Something doesn't add up, says Miranda. Now, there's a little bit more, a couple more paragraphs. This is very, very, very important. So we'll take a little break now, and then we'll be right back.
Marc Levin.
Folks, I have a question for you. Do you believe America's best days are still ahead? With the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence coming up in less than a year, my friends at the Heritage Foundation are taking stock of the current situation, and they need your input. They've launched a survey on America's future to gauge how Americans feel right now about where we are as a nation and where we're headed in the next 250 years. You know, for decades, your American values have been under attack, but now, with President Trump's administration in office, we have an opportunity to turn the tide and usher in a new golden age for America. But the Heritage Foundation needs to hear from you. What policies do patriots like you most care about? What do you believe are the defining principles of America? What legacy do you believe we should pass on to the next generation? Please visit heritage.org/Levin today and share your feedback and help shape the future of America. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation. As applies to Trump, the Epstein thing is just another attempt to destroy him. And you can see all the reprobates in Congress that are involved in this. They're not interested in getting to the bottom of anything. Nothing. Let's see here. What did I do with this? Oh, my goodness. What did I do with the report here? Oh, bear with me, folks. I got to go back and dig it up because I want to finish it for you. All right. Let's see. There it is. So let's continue the last couple of paragraphs from Miranda Devine's outstanding piece in the New York Post. She's something else. She really is. Deserves a Pulitzer. It's a long piece. We talked about Crooks interacting with Nazis and neo-Nazis from overseas. They're very dangerous people. Very, very dangerous people. Ray had been heavily criticized after the Parkland school shooting because the FBI failed to act after being repeatedly warned about the shooter, Nicholas Cruz, that he had guns, had threatened people, exhibited erratic behavior, and might carry out a school shooting. Was Ray trying to avoid being blamed for another atrocity on his watch? Is that why he downplayed, she asked, Trump's injury when he testified to Congress a week after Butler, and falsely suggested the now president had not been struck by a bullet, but by shrapnel from his podium? If the Secret Service had become aware of Crooks' anti-Trump rhetoric in 2020 during Trump's presidency, protocol is that it would have determined if he was a threat and offloaded to the FBI to take over the investigation. We don't know what happened because the Secret Service after action report is classified. I don't hear Congress demanding that be declassified. The only bodies that could look at it are the intelligence committees in Congress, which so far have shown little curiosity. Yep. A criminal investigation of a presidential assassination or attempted assassination falls under the jurisdiction of the FBI. Therefore, any comments on the subject would come from the Bureau. Requests for information from the FBI by Senator Johnson have been rebuffed. Although I would say I saw Johnson in an interview who was very supportive of Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. Johnson had to issue a subpoena in July on the first anniversary of the Butler attack and complained that he'd been stonewalled. I think he means stonewalled, rather, by the FBI and Secret Service in his efforts to request security camera footage, forensic reports, other documents related to the Crooks case. Trump and those close to him were skeptical about the official story and questioned how the impoverished parents of Crooks, who had to ask for money from neighbors to pay for their son's funeral, could afford to hire a white shoe law firm, Quinn Logue, out of Pittsburgh. It's hard to believe the FBI under Secret Service missed Crooks. The question is, what did they do about him? Well, this certainly opens up a massive need for a massive inquiry to find out what the hell is going on here and why do we have to go through these cover-ups. And then we have these kooks with these conspiracy theories. The one that it's Israel and the Mossad, right, Mister? Did you hear that one, Mr. Producer? It's always Israel and the Mossad, you know. And so you got to hear that crap. But there's something going on here. There's clearly a cover-up, in my view. And you know, folks, I don't talk about cover-ups very easily. I don't think this is a conspiracy theory that Miranda is promoting here. I think it's a really outstanding piece of investigative journalism. She has sources and so forth who've come to her, others do as well, telling her and them that this thing was botched. There's a cover-up. And so I'll be waiting for Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I'll be waiting for all the Democrats in the House and the Senate, as well as the Republicans, to demand the release of the Crooks file from the FBI and the Secret Service. The release of the Crooks files. Let's see how fast that cuts through the House and the Senate like crap through a goose, huh? I'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Marc Levin.
Hello, America. Marc Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. You know, there is one little footnote on this Epstein stuff for today. James Comer, you're familiar with Congressman Comer, before the vote on the floor of the House today, he revealed something. Because these Democrats are so desperate to get into the sewer, or get out of it, no, and stay in it, actually. Epstein, you know, the Russia hoax, Trump's tax return, just on and on. These are disgusting people. Here's what Comer revealed on the floor of the House today. Cut 6, go.
The files also show that a House Democrat colluded with Epstein during the 2019 oversight hearing to discredit witness with a vendetta against President Trump. And unsurprisingly, Democrats have been silent about their colleagues' coordination with Epstein. Another email shows Democrat fundraisers invited Epstein to an event or to meet privately with Hakeem Jeffries as part of their 2013 effort to win a majority. So Hakeem Jeffries' campaign solicited money from Jeffrey Epstein. That's what we found in the last document batch. The files underscore why former President Trump must appear for his deposition. We've subpoenaed him. To date, the Democrats have done nothing to help us secure his appearance. I support full transparency. The Oversight Committee will continue to work.
All right, let me slow you down, Comer. Did he say subpoena Trump, Mr. Producer? You can't subpoena the President of the United States to testify. That's a separation of powers violation. And he doesn't even have to honor it. I mean, that's black and white. So if that's what he's talking about, I'm not sure what he's talking about. In any event, I just thought I would update you. That's a surprise. Maybe he misspoke. New Arctic discovery could deal massive blow to Chinese dominance of rare earth minerals. Say what? This caught my attention. This is a big deal. We're going to have the governor on in about 10, 15 minutes of Alaska. Graphite Creek deposit, dubbed largest in U.S., now contains defense-quality materials, including, and I can't even pronounce this stuff, neodymium. A project heralded by Alaska Governor Mike Dunleavy and accelerated by President Trump stands to deal a blow to China's dominance in the nanotechnology, energy, and automotive sectors as the Graphite 1 site near Nome uncovered vast reserves for which Beijing previously accounted for 90% of production. As of 2024, the U.S. was at least 93% import dependent on both rare earth elements and graphite itself. Can you believe that? According to the International Energy Agency, the Graphite Creek deposit has already been dubbed the largest such tranche in the United States. But this week's announcement that rees were discovered in addition to graphite lode portends a step up that the U.S. can take against the CCP through Trump's America energy dominance agenda, according to a source familiar with the situation. Batteries, renewable energy technology, fiber optics, lights, magnets, consumer electronics like phones and tablets rely on REEs, which often places the U.S. at a manufacturing disadvantage, accentuated by China's 2024 export limits on magnet-related REEs, according to the PR Newswire. Graphite 1 President Anthony Huston said the Nome discovery is proof of a truly generational deposit at the Graphite Creek site. Some of the materials from the site will be shipped to an advanced graphite battery anode material plant in Ohio. This is fantastic. Huston confirmed the presence of 2 Defense Production Act qualifying materials and said that given the robust economies of our planned complete graphite materials supply chain, the presence of rare earths at Graphite Creek suggests that recovery as a byproduct to our graphite production will maximize the value. I don't know what all that means, but it sounds good, Mr. Producer. REEs found include neodymium, praseodymium, dysprosium, terbium, along with ore rock containing garnet deposits. The site's chief geologist noted the garnets can absorb certain REEs in the mineral structure. In a State of the Union address earlier in the year, Dunleavy praised the Graphite 1 project as the largest such in North America and encouraged it to continue moving forward with the support of both Juneau and Washington, the 2 capitals. And we're going to talk to the governor about this in about 7-8 minutes, because this is a big deal. Outside of Alaska, REEs have been discovered in Pennsylvania, with then Representative Lou Barletta, a Republican, trying to draw attention to them during his time in Congress in the 2010s. Anthracite coal deposits of Appalachian, Pennsylvania have been found to contain as many as 17 different REEs, rare earth minerals, which could strike another blow to Chinese dominance. You know, we must have a ton of this rare earth stuff. We just haven't been able to, because of, environmental rules and other things, to really get into it. Barletta told Fox News in 2018 that funding had been secured for a pilot program to look into extracting REs from coal wastewater and long abandoned mines that dot the landscape in Pennsylvania. While little has been done there when it comes to extracting such minerals compared to Alaska's efforts in the time since, researchers at Penn State said in September they had developed methods to recover cobalt, manganese, and nickel from acid mine drainage and fly ash. Wow, that would be fantastic. You can only imagine. We're talking about Alaska, Pennsylvania, rural parts of New York. God knows what's there. You think about Montana and Wyoming and these other states that are massive in size. The possibilities, it seems to me, are limitless, and we really do need to, and thank God for the Trump presidency, we really do need to try and dig as hard as we can and then exploit as much of this material as possible for our actual use and national security purposes, right? Because China is weaponizing these key elements against us, and they will always be able to do that unless we become self-sufficient, as we must. A lot of this is being overseen by the Energy Secretary, Chris Wright, or at least in coordination with the states, and I hope it is, and it sounds like it may be, a top priority, if not the number one priority, as far as I'm concerned. This is a really, really big deal. We'll be right back.
Marc Levin.
You know, in all the time I've been supporting Pure Talk, my wireless company, I can honestly say I've never seen an offer like this from them before. Listen to this. Unlimited talk, unlimited text, and unlimited data with a 30-gig hotspot. Just $29.95 a month for life. Friends, this is Pure Talk's top-tier plan, normally $65 a month. Now through December 7th, that's it. Just $29.95 a month. You're saving over 50% a month every month for life. Yes, that's on their crazy fast 5G network. But this offer is extremely short-lived. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's Levin for Pure Talk's best unlimited plan. Just $29.95 a month for life. Make the switch in as little as 10 minutes. Keep your phone, keep your number, and start saving with unlimited for life for just $29.95 a month. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin to switch to my wireless company, Pure Talk. Taxes and fees not included. Some restrictions apply. See puretalk.com for details. Offer ends December 7, 2025. We're here with a wonderful governor of Alaska, our friend Mike Dunleavy. Governor, unfortunately, a lot of things that go in Alaska don't make their way to the continental United States where you were born. And yet I came across this article today about these new discoveries of rare earth minerals. Can you fill us in on this?
Oh, yeah, we got a lot going on up here, Mark. Thanks for the time. So the article that came up by Charlie Christ really highlighted what's happening up in Alaska, specifically in our Graphite 1 find. A large graphite deposit will last over 100 years and is the largest find in North America. And you got to keep in mind that graphite is something we rely on from China. So this graphite find is truly amazing for the country. And it's in the process of getting investors and beginning development. But what they also found along with it, and this happens sometimes in large finds like this, are a number
before
of
we go on, what is graphite for? Do you happen to know? I could Google it, but I don't really know.
All kinds of applications. Low-grade graphite is used in your pencils. We used to call that lead. That's graphite. They use graphite for all kinds of electrical devices as well as nuclear plants. So it's across the spectrum. It's very critical. It deals with heat in a certain way. And right now, we have to rely on other sports. So this thing is going to be, I think, a big deal for this country and probably our allies as well. But what goes along with that are these rare earth elements. And they call them rare earths because they're scattered about everywhere, not in huge concentrations mostly. But in analyzing their samples, what they found the Graphite 1 is they got several of those rare earths that are used in magnets. And again, we rely on China for these rare earths and these magnets as well. And so this allows us to begin the process of really weaning ourselves back off of China for these critical resources and really doing it here in America for national security purposes.
Now, were there problems with the prior administration in getting access to this and the environmentalists and so forth?
Mark, how much time do we have? It was a nightmare, yeah. To be perfectly honest with you.
It's called a softball thrown underhand, you know.
Yes. So I'll give you an example of how bad it was, and I'm not exaggerating this. So Senator Dan Sullivan put together what we refer to as the sanction list, and it was actions by the Biden administration solely against Alaska. And there were upwards of 70 plus what we call sanctions because there were more restrictions put on Alaska than we would put on Iran or Venezuela. And so everything from closing down ANWR, closing down our large national forest, denying our right to go through over federal land, which is in law, congressional act that took place in 1980 under ANILCA, to go to Ambler, which we call the Ambler and Bornite mining districts. The list goes on, taking offshore oil off the table for leasing, NPRA for leasing. Truly, it was, if there was another 4 years of Biden administration, Alaska would cease to exist as a viable state. And people may laugh at that, but we're so dependent upon producing and marketing our resources that is what would have happened. The Trump administration is a 180. The Trump administration came out, Mark, and I think you remember this, on day one, Alaska got an executive order solely for Alaska by the Trump administration, no other state did, to peel back all of these restrictions so that we could fully implement, fully develop, fully market all of these resources that we have for not just Alaska and the country, but for the world. So it's a whole new ballgame with the Trump administration by far.
Same with oil, right? Oil drilling and so forth?
Absolutely, 100%. We're seeing an oil renaissance on the slope. And Mark, in just a few short months, you're probably going to hear of an unbelievable announcement, and that is that our natural gas pipeline project, which would be the largest project in the Arctic probably ever, and one of the largest in the Pacific, upwards of $44 to $60 billion pipeline project, the folks that are planning this will most likely announce that it's going to go to final investment decision, which means we'll start ordering pipes. This thing will be a game changer, just like the Trans-Alaska oil pipeline was in the 70s.
Isn't it amazing we have fantastic natural resources? There are ways to get to them without doing much environmental damage at all. The consensus now is climate change was phony. People don't even talk about it anymore. And yet, with the switch of an administration, we're now gaining access to these things, and I fear if they switch back, they'll be blocking them again. Aren't you running for something? You're running for something else, aren't you?
Well, there's rumors that I'm running for a whole bunch of things, Mark. But I do want to.
Well, we're just hoping you take out Murkowski. That's all. But go ahead.
But I do want to mention two things about what you just said. One is, it's 4 years of going to be brilliance, in my opinion, under Trump. But we have to get Congress to codify these great changes into long-term law, both lawfare and our permitting process. But, Mark, I want to give you another example. I know we're getting towards the end here, but we have the largest national forest in the country, two of them, the Tongass National Forest, and the Chugach. Both are larger than many states. I'm going to give you a figure that's going to astound the listeners. Rhode Island has a larger timber industry than we do in those national forests.
Jeez.
420 Rhode Islands would fit into the state of Alaska, but because of policies, not because of we lost trees, but because of policies, we virtually have very little to no logging in the Tongass and Chugach National Forests.
Terrible.
If we, and under Trump, we're opening those forests back up, we could supply timber not just for Alaska, but for a whole host of our allies across the Pacific and probably parts of the lower 48. That was simply policy that started under Clinton and was made worse under Biden. So remember this. Rhode Island has a larger timber industry than the state of Alaska does.
And they basically don't have any, do they?
We only produce about maybe $100 million worth of timber. They produce somewhere in the neighborhood of $700 million worth of timber. And so the point of this is what policy can do to you, not a lack of resource. We have no lack of resource in Alaska. Oil, gold, silver, gas, timber, fish, you name it. If we're just allowed to develop them, and that's what's happening under the Trump administration, and that's what was killed under Biden. Administrations and elections matter.
Yeah,
you're going to find
really
that out in New York City here shortly too, Mark.
Yeah, no, you're right. Now remind everyone where you're originally from.
Small town, Scranton, Pennsylvania. Some say I'm the other guy, but it was a coal mining town, anthracite coal. We heated with coal when we were kids. It's a fantastic, Pennsylvania's a fantastic state. But again, Alaska is your resource treasure for this entire country. And that's why it was purchased in 1867, for its resources.
Mm-hmm. Thank God it was. But it was considered a Seward's folly, as I recall, no?
Well, that's what they tried to do. That's what they tried to say back then. But, Mark, if you could purchase Alaska today for $7.2 million, and that's all we paid for it, probably the greatest real estate deal there is.
If you could get it for $1 trillion, it'd be a great deal. Governor, thank you so much. We really appreciate having you on, and this is very exciting. We're going to keep an eye on it. God bless you, my friend.
Thanks, Mark, and keep up the good work. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. That's Governor Mike Dunleavy. He's a good guy. You see, I was trying to talk him into running against Murkowski, but I think he will. I mean, time will tell, but I think he will. Hi. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now everybody agrees with me on her. I tried to explain what she is. She's actually worse. She's become a hard left. She loves undermining the GOP, undermining the president. And I want to remind you, the people that platformed her constantly so she could keep attacking me, well, like that's some big deal. I swat her down like a mosquito. Eric Bolling, who pretended to be a friend. Of course, Carlson, he's never met a miscreant he doesn't like, or worse. And there were others. I think Bloated Bannon was another one. Maybe No Pants Gates. You know, those. Oh, yeah, it had to be No Pants Gates. No question about it. That whole little cabal of nobodies and nothings. And now they don't even talk about her. Why don't they put her back on their programs, Mr. Producer? Oh, Megyn Kelly, too. I mean, they're just asking questions. Why isn't Marjorie Taylor Greene back on these platforms? I also went back and looked at Carlson and others. They were hot on this Epstein stuff. Remember that, Mr. Producer? Oh, yeah. Little old me said, what is this? This is nothing but a phony scandal that they're trying to create against Trump. Obviously, what took place was horrendous. Period. Even for 15-year-olds. Horrendous. But Trump didn't do anything. If he'd done anything, we'd know about it. And now everybody's going to be going over the documents. They're going to be trying to insinuate things, but I guarantee you there's nothing there. Now, that said, if there's something there, you'll hear about it, right? But here's the point. You got to stand strong and stand on principles and use common sense, who we're dealing with, Democrats and the media and the grifters, the neo-fascist grifters who will do anything for $1 or $5, including sell out Donald Trump. We'll be right back. You know, in all the time I've been supporting Pure Talk, my wireless company, I can honestly say I've never seen an offer like this from them before. Listen to this. Unlimited talk, unlimited text, and unlimited data with a 30-gig hotspot. Just $29.95 a month for life. Friends, this is Pure Talk's top-tier plan, normally $65 a month. Now through December 7th, that's it. Just $29.95 a month. You're saving over 50% a month every month for life. Yes, that's on their crazy fast 5G network. But this offer is extremely short-lived. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's Levin for Pure Talk's best unlimited plan. Just $29.95 a month for life. Make the switch in as little as 10 minutes. Keep your phone, keep your number, and start saving with unlimited for life for just $29.95 a month. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin to switch to my wireless company, Pure Talk. Taxes and fees not included. Some restrictions apply. See puretalk.com for details. Offer ends December 7, 2025.
This is the home of America's founding. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
The one person who voted against the release of the Epstein files was a gentleman by the name of Clay Higgins, Republican in Louisiana. I actually think he makes a pretty damn good point. What do you think of that, Rich? The one guy. The only lawmaker, they write on the New York Post, who voted against the move while 5 others were absent in the House. Well, what did he say? He said, "I have been a principled no on this bill from the beginning. What was wrong with the bill 3 months ago is still wrong today. It abandons 250 years of criminal justice procedure in America. As written, this bill reveals and injures thousands of innocent people, witnesses, people who provided alibis, family members, etc. If enacted, which it was, in its current form, this type of broad reveal of criminal investigative files released to a rabid media will absolutely result in innocent people being hurt. Not by my vote. The Oversight Committee is conducting a thorough investigation that has already released over 60,000 pages of documents from the Epstein case." The man makes a good point. In fact, a superb point. And he was the only one to vote no. Because people don't want to be accused of covering something up and so forth. Let's see here. 4 Republicans, Massey, Nancy Mace, Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, joined with all 214 House Democrats to get the necessary 218 signatures needed to vote on the discharge petition. And that's why all the rest of them went along, because it was, all right, we can't stop it because of these 4 Republicans, so let's go. But rather than thinking of this as some kind of cover-up for Trump, which he clearly is not, I think this guy from Louisiana is onto something. I really do. You've got all kinds of information that is collected during the course of investigations, which means nothing other than you're following a lead. You folks have seen it on TV programs, Law and Order, Chicago PD, FBI, and so forth. There's a ton of innocent people, and yet you keep these files, and they're not even accused of anything. Perhaps they're family members, they have leads, they saw something. Well, apparently, if I'm reading this correctly, if I'm wrong, that's great, I'll let you know. Almost none of that was redacted. And so I think this fella, Clay Higgins, there probably would have been 2 of us voting that way, Mr. Producer, oddly enough. And I believe transparency is very, very important, but we're talking about the criminal justice system here. That's what we're talking about. And even putting Trump aside and everybody else aside. To release this stuff without redactions or anything like that, which is his point. Just to, that he would have voted to release it, but they just released everybody's names and everything else. And he felt that was a mistake, and I think that's right. It doesn't mean certain names shouldn't be released. They should. But there are innocent people who aren't accused of anything, who are helping investigators, people who don't want their names out, some people who are embarrassed, some people who may have been victims, and so forth and so on. So how bad would it have been to go through the records, as is typically done in a case like this, if it's done at all, and to ensure that that doesn't happen? But they didn't, because the mob is hungry, and the media is hungry. Catarlson and that crowd, they're hungry. They want to chase their, chase the buck. And this is where you wind up. And it's not a very pleasant place, to be perfectly honest with you. That said, what a sick bastard this Epstein was. And it went on for a long time. And names that are being released, like this guy Summer and so forth, should be released. That's not what this congressman's talking about, and that's not what I'm talking about. We're talking about people who are not accused of anything, who have no role in anything, but might be witnesses, might be able to tip off investigators, that sort of thing. Perfectly innocent people. In addition to the swine and the thugs and the molesters and rapists. I wanted to tell you, you know what CARE is doing? This organization, CARE, Council on American Islamic Relations. It should be Council on Destroying America with Islamists. This is an exclusive from our friends at the New York Post. Isabel Vincent, Muslim group CARE cutting $1,000 checks, ready? For anti-Israel agitators who've been disciplined by colleges. Anti-Israel agitators who spread disruption at U.S. colleges and were punished by authorities were awarded with checks of $1,000 by a Muslim nonprofit. The Post has learned. The money was given to students who faced penalties for leading pro-Palestine protests. They led violent pro-Hamas protests. Before and after the Hamas attack on Israel on October 7th, according to a bombshell report by the Network Contagion Research Institute. I love these people. And the Intelligent Advocacy Network. I love these groups. They are fantastic. The cash was awarded from a Champions of Justice Fund, quote unquote, set up by the California chapter of CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, as institutional endorsement, the report claims. So now we have a Hamas front group that's handing out $1,000 to people who were not just protesting, some were protesting, but they were agitators who'd been disciplined by their colleges. They're getting $1,000 rewards from Hamas. $1,000. Somebody needs to look into their tax status, do they not? The answer is yes. And these organizations were able to collect this information. Good for them. And they've now revealed it. And I hope the Department of Justice will take a look at this. The money was then offered as interest-free loans and grants of $1,000 to students who lost scholarships, housing, or other support because of their advocacy, quote-unquote, according to CARE's website. In October 2024, CARE California awarded $20,000 in loans and scholarships to 20 student protesters from the Champions of Justice Fund. Got it? The identities of the student recipients have never been revealed, but the institutions they attend were in CARE's literature, included Columbia, University of Pennsylvania, and Harvard, as you can imagine. That means students suspended or expelled from Columbia, as an example, for storming and occupying the university's Hamilton Hall, barricading themselves inside the building with furniture and padlocks on April 30, 2024, an incident which resulted in the building having to be stormed by police, could have potentially qualified for the $1,000 checks. These programs, and I quote from the good guys, NCRI, these programs support students after acts of criminality and violence, creating a reward structure for building the most militant face of the movement. This is how ideologies metastasize, NCRA founder Joel Finkelstein warned the Post. This is also what Hamas does at a different level. What the Palestinian Authority does. You know, the peaceful ones. Abbas, the terrorist from Munich. The Munich terrorist attack. He was the fundraiser to make sure that the terrorists could get there and slaughter the Jewish participants in 1972. Yes, they deserve a state, says the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. And whatever he says goes, of course. Now, that said, what they do, the Taylor Force Act was passed to try and stop, but Biden turned the other way, as he always did, is they give pensions, lifetime pensions, to the families of terrorists who kill Jews, Americans, Christians, or anybody else. They need their own state, don't you know? Yeah, Saudi Arabia. No, not us. No, not us. No. And so, of course, this is not identical, obviously, but it is the same concept. That is, rewarding people who've been punished by these schools because of their violence and acts of that sort. And there's CARE. the Hamas front group, right at the front of the line. That group should be put out of business. Any group with ties to Hamas or terrorist groups or front organizations that do their bidding, they should be put out of business. And we know that CARE is, thanks to the FBI that tapped the hotel room at the Marriott next to the Philadelphia International Airport. That's right. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You know, in all the time I've been supporting Pure Talk, my wireless company, I can honestly say I've never seen an offer like this from them before. Listen to this. Unlimited talk, unlimited text, and unlimited data with a 30-gig hotspot. Just $29.95 a month for life. Friends, this is Pure Talk's top-tier plan, normally $65 a month. Now through December 7th, that's it. Just $29.95 a month. You're saving over 50% a month every month for life. Yes, that's on their crazy fast 5G network. But this offer is extremely short-lived. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's Levin for Pure Talk's best unlimited plan. Just $29.95 a month for life. Make the switch in as little as 10 minutes. Keep your phone, keep your number, and start saving with unlimited for life for just $29.95 a month. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin to switch to my wireless company, Pure Talk. Taxes and fees not included. Some restrictions apply. See puretalk.com for details. Offer ends December 7, 2025. Isn't it weird what's going on in this country right now? The Democrats are focused on Epstein, just praying to God they can find one sentence or a half a sentence somewhere. But so far they can't. With people we used to respect and admire, who were conservatives, who are now neo-fascists, promoting Nazis, platforming racists and bigots. Strange, no? And others who are apologizing for them. There have always been the kooks and the losers and the vile filth out there, but just some people who regurgitate this stuff who you never would have dreamt would. And then elected in New York City a Marxist Islamist. At some point, this is going to center itself. At some point. I really believe that. Now, by the way, next hour I want to tell you about, quote-unquote, the secret life of George W. Bush. They say he's vanished into the shadows for 16 years. And the Daily Mail, it's a bit of a gossip paper, but nonetheless, now we know what he's been plotting all along. This actually is a substantive piece, which is a rare exception for them often. And I'm going to go through this with you. It's not a short piece, so I won't read the whole thing. But it looks like the Bushies are plotting a return after Trump. We have the neo-fascists who are plotting to try and take over MAGA. And so you'll have the rhinos and the neo-fascists. Then, of course, you'll have you and me, Mr. and Mrs. America, constitutional conservatives. And we're not going anywhere. In fact, we are Make America Great Again. We were in 84 under Reagan, and we are under Trump. I'll be right back.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Marc Levin.
Hello, America. Marc Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. What do you make of this? No, I don't want to deal with her. Oh, yeah. Thank you for reminding me, Mr. Producer. want to read you this piece, Secret Life of George Bush. He's vanished into the shadows for 16 years. Now we know what he's been plotting all along. I don't know about that, but I'll read you what they wrote. In George Bush's Prairie Chapel Ranch outside Waco, once known as the Western White House, all appears quiet. Last week, the former president hosted his 9th annual W100K mountain bike ride for wounded veterans, a 2-day event around the 40 miles of trails on the 1,600-acre property. The former president still owns the ranch, but these days mainly lives in a 2-hour drive away in $5 million home in Preston Hollow, an exclusive suburb of Dallas. His red brick house with floor-to-ceiling windows is a gated cul-de-sac in an area known locally as the Honey Pot. The former president rises, early and checks in by phone daily with his best friend, his former Commerce Secretary Donald Evans. He paints in his studio and is a golfaholic, appearing frequently at several local courses. He watches sports, including Texas Rangers baseball team, and recently appeared for the coin toss at a Dallas Cowboys game. It's a relatively uneventful retirement and may seem like he's checked out of politics. But his public interventions have become more frequent of late, and his supporters are demanding more. President Bush, please, man, we could use your voice right now. Former chair of the RNC, Michael Steele, said Michael Steele's a head case. He's an unhinged buffoon. Acolytes to the Bush family have always known that they would have to ride out Trump's second term, but many have never accepted that arguably the most successful ever American political dynasty ended on January 20, 2009, the day W left the White House for the final time. Now rumors are stirring of a plot to end the so-called Bush exile and take back the GOP from the so-called scourge of Trumpism. Behind the scenes, and still with deep connections around the country, a shadow Republican Party is lying in wait to take over when Trump is gone. So there's two shadows now. The neo-Nazis or the neo-fascists are trying to take over, and now the rhinos are trying to stick with me, folks. We're the constitutional conservatives. We know what we're doing. It'll be ugly in 3 years or so. It'll be ugly, maybe in 2.5 years, but we can handle it. You and me, right here, Mr. and Mrs. America. Now rumors are stirring of a plot to end the so-called Bush exile and take back the GOP from the so-called, well, I already said that. Behind the scenes, still with deep connections around the country, they have this Republican Party lying in wait, they write. And while the former president is determined not to publicly criticize Trump, much to the frustration of some of his former aides, he may not be averse to quietly helping to shape the Republican Party's long-term future. A challenge from a Bush-aligned presidential candidate may not come until the 2030s. But amid current turmoil in the GOP and with Trump constitutionally barred from standing for a third term, there's a growing push for it to happen in 2028. So this could be quite a wild primary, and we will have a voice in this primary. Trump knows that there's no third term, one former Bush official with a visceral hatred of Trump told the Daily Mail. There's no doubt Vance has a head start as vice president, but I don't think it's locked in by any stretch. It's not. Nothing's locked in. We don't do coronations in the Republican Party. There'll be a big open field within the Republican Party in 2028. I don't know about that, but we'll see. I do think a lot of people will jump in. The enmity between Trump and the Bushes is not just personal. It's fundamentally policy-driven, and it goes on. And we don't need to get into it. There's no doubt Trump retains a stronghold over the Republican Party, but a recent AP NORC poll found only 68% of Republicans approved of his management, down from 81%, they say. Anyway, the more time elapses from Bush's exit, the more his stock rises, they write. In his few public appearances, he appears an increasingly avuncular figure. Meanwhile, Trump's fury at Bush only seems to increase. Well, this is definitely an anti-Trump piece, by the way. That's not why I'm reading it. I'm reading it because of the plotting that's going on in the shadows. Let's see. Ready? In August of this year, Trump moved White House portraits of Bush and his late father, George H.W., to a hidden stairwell where visitors would not see them. Coincidentally, in the very same week, ready? George W. Bush and his brother Jeb, the former Florida governor, were among family luminaries who gathered for a secret and potentially very consequential event at the Dynasty Summer Retreat in Kennebunkport on the Maine coast. Again, I'm just reading what they've written. The compound at Walker's Point was known as the Summer White House during the Bush presidencies. Unpublicized and with no media present, a total of 65 friends and family gathered there and poured money into a pot to help kick off a new Bush political run. Tech entrepreneur Jonathan Bush, what is it? These guys multiply like rabbits. Tech entrepreneur Jonathan Bush, 56, cousin of W and Jeb, and brother of TV personality Billy Bush, will bid to become governor of the moderate state of Maine in 2026, and if he wins, it would be the third state governorship held by the Bush family. Both George W. and Jeb used their governorships, we know. The spokesman for Jonathan Bush's Maine for Keeps campaign said he was especially proud to have his family standing strongly by his side. While any intervention in Republican politics is risky for the ex-president, he's believed to have been particularly irked recently by Trump's decision to dismantle U.S. aid. Now, that's a weird one. That would irk you? Now, if Jonathan Bush is to carry the dynasty's torch, he will face challenges following previous revelations about his private life. In 2018, the Daily Mail revealed he had confessed to numerous physical alterations with his ex-wife, Sarah Selden, according to court papers. He said they occurred during a particularly difficult personal time in my life. I worked very hard since then to demonstrate my remorse. I take complete responsibility for all these regrettable incidents involving my dear former wife. And at the time, his wife said, like many families, ours is not perfect. Neither of us are proud of the events that occurred during our divorce. I hate when they get into this divorce stuff. It just is what it is. Let's see here. After the January 6th, scores of former Bush officials left the Republican Party, joining anti-Trump groups like the Lincoln Project and Republican Voters Against Bush. Well, how did that turn out? Not very well, which could ultimately provide electoral infrastructure for Bush-aligned candidate. Yeah, if they want to lose. The 2024, the waters were tested by Nikki Haley, who became something of a stalking horse for Bushism. It's very strange what she did. She stayed in way too long. And she was accompanied on the trail by Chris Sununu, the governor of New Hampshire. Another Republican dynasty. Look, we're not going to win with Republican dynasties. I can tell you that right now. I can tell you that 2 presidencies, how many do you need? Seems to me to be enough. And they go on about stuff that we already know. Let's see here. The Republican Party is riven by schisms over the Epstein scandal, what some see as Trump's preoccupation with foreign wars and tariffs. What he's talking about is the neo-fascists stabbing Trump in the back and really tearing apart the party and MAGA. At least that's their effort, and we're going to keep fighting them here. I vow to you, as long as I have this microphone, I will keep fighting these people. Writing recently in the Wall Street Journal, Karl Rove, the advisor once known as Bush's brain, said his tariff demands are weighing him down. Voters won't blame... Karl, you're so wrong so often. No offense. No offense. I don't know him well. I think I met him once at an airport with my wife. Maybe twice, once at the White House when I was maybe looking for the men's room. I don't remember. But I don't think the architect, probably the architect of the Leaning Tower of Pisa, Mr. Producer, don't you think? They didn't get that one straight. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Who says doctors don't make house visits anymore? Dr. Siegel's in our house all the time. One of the great people on Fox, and he's a great doctor. He's a personal friend. And he's got a fantastic book out, The Miracles Among Us, How God's Grace Plays a Role in Healing. Dr. Siegel, this is a fantastic book that takes science and faith, fuses them together, and I'm a big believer in that. You're a big believer in that, too. Why don't you explain?
I'm a big believer in that because back in the 17th century, Baruch D. Spinoza said, well, God is in nature, and that's it. Well, first of all you have to do as a doctor is start to examine the human body and the way it works. And the science of medicine is so profound that already defies nature and defies the odds. Just being alive, just what it takes to be alive from moment to moment with your heart beating and your brain working. That's to begin with. Then the amount of coincidences that occur and the amount that doctors play are God's hands. They're not godlike, but they're God's hands. And the way that outcomes can defy the odds, and the way that people are visited in dreams, and the way that we look at that in the Bible, in the Torah, and we see that in Aaron, where little miracles add up. When you start not to value people in terms of the preciousness of the human soul, when you start not to do that, is when you start making really reckless decisions, like physician-assisted suicide or premature hospice. We have to treasure life. That's our role as physicians. That goes all the way back to Maimonides.
Beautifully put. And throughout the book, ladies and gentlemen, he laces in faith, the good books, the Torah, and so forth throughout the book. There were a couple chapters that drew my attention. I finally got your book, by the way, and I was reading through it as fast as I could. It really is a fantastic book, and I think you folks are going to really like it. It's called The Miracles Among Us, How God's Grace Plays a Role in Healing. And by the way, if you believe in God, why wouldn't his God's grace play a role in healing? But you had one here, sorry, my eyesight needs help, involving Hungary, and that drew my attention. Still alive in the Hungarian forest. You want to talk about that a little bit?
I love that chapter because it has to do with the idea that God brings us the miracles that he wants us to have, not necessarily the ones we're asking for. And we know that from the prayer of Hannah in Haftorah on Rosh Hashanah, because she's praying for a son, and she only gets that son because Samuel is going to go on to become a great prophet. And Hezekiah, Isaiah says you're going to die, but God says you're going to live because you're going to end up being the father with Isaiah's daughter, ironically, of another bad king, which he was trying to avoid. God heals him. Direct prayer to God. In the story in the Holocaust that I have, Isaac Middleman is praying to God on Yom Kippur, and Hungarian soldiers see that, and they string him up from the trees to die. Somehow he makes it through to the next morning with God's help, but he's frozen. They put him in the hospital. They let one of his arms go. They're not going to do anything to save it. They just watch it fester, and eventually they take the arm with a towel for anesthesia, and he's still alive, but then there he is again praying directly to God, praying the Shema, and when he says the Lord is one, the Allies bomb the hospital. All of this, by the way, is documented by Yad Vashem. They bomb the hospital. Everyone in that hospital is killed except for Isaac Middleman, who takes Hungarian soldiers' clothes and dresses himself and leaves and goes all the way to Budapest. And he gets rations there because they believe he's a Hungarian soldier. But when the Allies occupy Budapest, they nearly shoot him because he looks like a Hungarian soldier. But then they hear him saying Yiddish, and they save him. They spare his life. He goes back to America, and he goes to America for the first time, becomes a great rabbi. And his son, Barnett Middleton, believes that God saved him for that life later as a rabbi. God looks down the road.
Mm-hmm. And you have some more contemporary examples, too. Steve Scalise, everybody knows about him. Tell us how he wrote that.
Steve Scalise was on the ball field that day, and everyone knows that story. But what they don't know is that Brad Weintraub was actually in the batter's cage, which he has never been in before. And he because he was there, he doesn't get shot. Scalise gets shot, and he bleeds out almost entirely on the ball field. But Wenstrup manages to get to him and to give him like water and Gatorade through his lips and keep him going a little bit and put on a tourniquet. And then they get him to a helicopter. They get him to the hospital. He arrives with no blood pressure, and they give him 50 units of blood, but then an interventional radiologist works together with a surgeon. Never happened before. With clamps coming out of his belly, the interventional radiologist actually figures out that the iliac artery is completely severed, and he burns off the parts that they can't repair, and together they work, and they save him. And both say they've never seen a case so extraordinary. But then he recovers and ends up, coming back to Congress that day that everybody remembers because of his great courage and praying to God every single day. He survived because of his belief in God and great doctoring. And that's what Cardinal Dolan has said to me too, that the miracles occur because of a combination of great doctors and the art of medicine combined with faith.
The book is extraordinary, folks. And you know what? It's uplifting, Doctor. It's very uplifting. You see people in these horrific situations. The Rebbe, this is close to me. I have a Chabad rabbi, and we know all about the Rebbe. Tell the American people, because it's a great chapter, Chapter 7.
It's my favorite chapter in the book. And by the way, it was vetted by a Chabad rabbi in the University of Miami Medical Center, who's also the chief of medicine, Mark. Isn't that amazing? He's the chief of medicine, and he's a Chabad rabbi. But he didn't write. He read through it and made sure to make any errors. But in this chapter, the Rebbe has a carpenter, and the carpenter is rebuilding his office. And he looks out the window and he sees a beautiful woman, and he decides that he's smitten with her, and he ends up pursuing her, and she becomes his wife. And then the Rebbe has then the carpenter has 3 children. But the third child isn't doing very well. He's pale, and he's not gaining weight. And he goes Sunday to dollars, which is when the Rebbe gives you $1 and you're supposed to give it to charity. It's this whole idea that miracles, too, occur because of a transference. And we believe this deeply in Judaism. It's doing mitzvahs. It will come back to you. You give out something, your kindness, like Mark Levin gives out kindness all the time. It's restored, it's repaid. And that's what the Rebbe was doing with dollars. And he says to the former carpenter, he says, something's the matter with your third child. I know it. Why isn't he here? The carpenter says, he's pale. I don't know. He says, check the mezuzah over your door. He checks the mezuzah, and the mezuzah, which has the Shema, the prayer of the Shema in it, the Lord is one. The mem, which is a central letter in the alphabet, which looks like a heart. It's a circle that looks like a heart. It's broken at the bottom. So the Rebbe says, fix it. He fixes it, and then he meets with the Rebbe again. He says he's still not doing well. He says, bring him to a cardiologist. So he brings him to a cardiologist.
Hold your thought, Doctor. I don't want you to rush. We have a whole big segment remaining. You're going to love this book, folks. Go to Amazon.com right now. The Miracles Among Us.
Mark Levin, the thunder on the right. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
We will be back in a moment with our friend Dr. Marc Siegel. This book is great, The Miracles Among Us, How God's Grace Plays a Role in Healing. You're going to love this book. Please go to Amazon.com, grab your copy. Many of you know people who are not doing well. I would encourage you to read this book, maybe read some of the chapters to them, as a matter of fact. But I think everybody would benefit from this book. I know I did. And I'm not done because I got it this morning, but I'm going to finish it. I'm about a third of the way through. I was kind of cherry-picking chapters that drew my attention, and it's just a killer book. You've never read anything like it, actually. It is this fusion between science and faith, and that's a very important thing. Very. I want to get back to Dr. Siegel. So just a reminder, so there's this patient, and he is advised to go to the cardiologist. Take it from there.
He's only 3 months old. His name is Israel. His father's name is Nathan, and Nathan's the former carpenter. He brings him to the cardiologist, and the cardiologist finds a hole in his heart. And he says, fine, but we have to watch this. It will probably heal on its own, and we can't do anything till he's 1 year old. The carpenter goes back to the Rebbe, and he says, something bad's going to happen. I have a bad feeling about this. Tell him to operate now. The cardiologist says, I'm not listening to a rabbi. I don't care who he is. This is a medical situation. And this speaks to the point we've been making, Mark, that it's never just a medical situation, is it? And you have to take information and ideas and thoughts from everyone around you to be a great doctor. But what happens is the little baby has a cardiac arrest and almost doesn't make it. They then understand that the Rebbe is right, and they operate. Risky operation at that age. They fix the hole in the heart. The baby does absolutely fine. I interviewed him too. He's lived to a normal life, normal adulthood. So then the Rebbe goes on doing his mitzvahs throughout his storied life, really. Great man, great rabbi. And when he gets to his 90s, he's really sick, and he's in the hospital, and he has a stroke, and he has some seizures. And one of the last doctors to take care of him is named Dr. Bronfman. And she takes care of him, and she knows who he is. She's from Moscow, and she's heard all about the Rebbe, and she knows who he is, but she feels like people are coming to him still for dollars in the hospital, but she feels like he doesn't have any dollars left to give, and he doesn't have miracles left. But it was very, very important for her to take care of him, and it was a great honor. He ends up dying, and about a month later, I meet her, and she goes on to become my wife, and I realize that that was the last miracle. That was the last miracle the Rebbe did. He brought that carpenter his wife, and he brought me mine.
Isn't that... I hadn't read that. Oh, I can't wait to read the rest of this book. That is fascinating. Ladies and gentlemen, the book is The Miracles Among Us, How God's Grace Plays a Role in Healing. Everybody, regardless of your faith, you're going to want to read this book. And then there's this. People are always back from the dead, chapter 16. Tell us about that.
Dr. Michael Baden believes in a greater reality. Mark, you probably know him. He's probably the best forensic pathologist. He's probably the best in the history of the world. And he has a very soothing voice, which I say in the book probably would help you go from this world to the next. He's a very calming soul, and he's a pathologist, and you love him. He's a kindred spirit with us. And he says he believes in a larger reality. But this story that he tells me is beyond belief, which is that there's a patient in the hospital, very obese, and the family is really angry that the hospital is not taking good care of this patient. Now, I know what the hospital is, but Mark, Baden doesn't really want me to say. The patient they felt they were really negligent with this patient. And one morning, the nurses come in, and they use the mirror test to see if someone's alive, and they said that he was gone. So they put him in the morgue, what they used to call the morgue wagon, instead of the ambulance. And on the way in the morgue wagon, the driver thinks he hears some noises. What is this? What are these strange sounds? He gets to the morgue, and Baden is there, and they put him in the cold freeze, and he's in a body bag. They take him out to put him on the table to do an autopsy, and he starts to move, and he starts to moan. And Baden says, this guy is alive. So they quickly bring him back to the hospital, and you can imagine what the family is doing at this point. You can imagine how apocalyptic the family is. And they bring him back, and they put him in the ICU, and they try to bring him around, and he starts to recover, but then the same thing happens all over again. And they don't use EKGs in those days. It is probably, they have EKGs, but they don't use them to declare people dead. And I believe it's this case that changed that, because now, once again, the mirror test, he fails it on morning rounds with the nurses, and they send him back to the morgue again. Again in the morgue wagon, the morgue driver hears something, and he says, I don't know what's going on. He gets to the morgue, and Baden again gets him out of cold storage, and again sees that he's moving and he's warm, and again sends him back to the hospital. So the man has been declared dead twice now. That
is incredible. Did we lose the doctor?
Imagine the family.
There he is. Imagine the family. Imagine him. He's got to be thinking, God is great and the medical community's nuts, no? He's got to be thinking something like that. I don't know.
I think that God is playing a twist there. That's an irony from God. Exactly right. Because the medical community, the lesson there is that the medical community is so addicted to protocol and certain nose to the ground approaches that they don't see the larger picture, and they think that their protocol is what matters the most, and that's that Spinoza idea again. And God is doing ironies on us all the time. By the way, my favorite story in the book is about October 7th. I don't know if you got to that one yet, but October 7th, 2023, Alei Hageg Golan, a wonderful physician. She's a anesthesia resident at Soroka Medical Center, and she's home with her husband Ariel and her young daughter Yael, and Hamas comes and burns their house to the ground, and they hide in the safe room, and they protect the baby with a mattress, but eventually the house is burned, and they get out of the house through the window, burned to a crisp, naked, covered with burns. They go and hide over a tractor, and she breastfeeds the baby to keep the baby from completely dehydrating. And finally, they make it to the front of the kibbutz, and the IDF is there, and they bring him to Sheba Medical Center. And she's in a coma for 2 months. The baby survives. The husband survives. She's in a coma for 2 months. She has burns. She has inhalation burns. She has blood clots. She has infections. She has COVID. And she manages to recover with an angel looking over her in the ICU who saved a lot of COVID patients. As you know, Mark, Sheba is like the best hospital in the world. A wonderful, wonderful place. And they managed to bring her back. And probably the biggest miracle of all is a burn cream called Nexobrid that was invented in China but has been used in Israel on the battlefield and in the hospitals to burn away dead tissue so that they could do it without a scalpel. And that allowed them to get her burns to heal. The first thing she does when she wakes up is says, "I'm going back to work." And they let her complete her internship at Sheba, but then she says, "This is great courage. I'm going back to the hospital where I started to finish." And I know that she's going to be a doctor in that ICU, just like the woman that looked over her.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Now, before we have to go, what motivated you to write this book?
There's a lot of things, but I think probably it's the fact that my father's 102 and my mother is 100, and they're held together by love, and there's been so many twists in the road. You know, they both had hip surgery. My father's on dialysis. He's been on a ventilator. I'm like, how can you put a 98-year-old man on a ventilator? I said to those anesthesiologists who are a lot like Alei Golan, and they kept doing it. Faced with a problem, they treasured the soul. They treasured the preciousness of my father's life and my mother's life because they're still with it. They're still with it. And I said to my father recently, what's the secret to living 102 years? And he said, when someone punches, you duck.
That's very good. And how long did it take you to write this book? You go into history, but you also did interviews and so forth?
It took me about 2 years. It's a work of love, like with you, like with your work. You know, I'm a workaholic. I worked on this day and night. The interviews actually made it easier because some great wisdom came out of the mouths of my subjects. But what I tried to do was show all types of points of view, doctors, patients, witnesses, so that I felt that everything that I had was completely accurate, and it is.
Mm-hmm. It's a fantastic book. You really did a great job. The Miracles Among Us, How God's Grace Plays a Role in Healing. It's out now. Every retail location that sells books is selling this book. If you want it to arrive at your front step, there's always Amazon.com. They always have great discounts over there. And Dr. Siegel is really a great doctor, and he's a great storyteller, too. This book is a killer. The Miracles Among Us, How God's Grace Plays a Role in Healing. Great job, Doctor. Thanks for being on. This is terrific.
God bless you, Mark. Thank you for having me and for all the great work you do.
You too. You too. God bless you as well. I'm telling you, folks, this book is it's inspiring, is what it is. Many of you have a lot of questions about healing and death and science and God and what the doctor's pointing out. I'm oversimplifying it as you need both. You need both. You need to believe and you need the medical care. You need both. But it's even more than that. So I want you to check in The Miracles Among Us, How God's Grace Plays a Role of Healing. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
It's really bizarre. I'm just going to be honest. Saudi Arabia now is to become a major non-NATO ally. Do you see this, Mr. Producer? And Qatar is a protectorate for which we will go to war if necessary. The problem is that Saudi Arabia's main enemy, apart from Iran, is who, Mr. Producer? Qatar. Qatar's main enemy is Saudi Arabia. which they would love to overthrow through terror groups. The two countries have long despised each other. So we're promising to defend both. Right? It's just so weird. It all seems so bizarre to me. It really does. I will post that because I just think it's actually kind of ridiculous. Just one man's opinion. Those F-35s that Saudi Arabia wants to buy, if they're going to use them, they probably use them against Qatar one day. As long as Iran stays on its back, I guess. Very weird. President Trump said Tuesday he will designate Saudi Arabia as a major non-NATO ally, marking a step up in defense ties between the U.S. and the Gulf monarchy. Mr. Trump announced the move at a black-tie dinner at the White House in honor of Saudi Crown Prince, the de facto leader of Saudi Arabia. The designation could open the door to further collaboration between Saudi Arabia and the U.S. military. It's also a symbolic move, Mr. Trump said in brief remarks Tuesday evening, would take our military cooperation to greater heights. Well, I know he's doing these things, and I know the neo-fascists and isolationists are very excited about this. That is, the Jew haters and the Israel haters. But if you're Israel and you're sitting there and we're making military promises, commitments to Qatar, to Saudi Arabia, and you're even flirting with a two-state solution. And so I have to say to myself, what's going on here? Truly. It's not peace through strength. I don't know what it is. I know they're investing in our country a tremendous amount of money. But that can't be our foreign policy, can it? No, it shouldn't be. But you're going to sell our best jets to the Saudis. You're going to give them major non-NATO status, which means military protection. You're giving Qatar even more, through an executive order, military protection. And I'm thinking to myself, who else are we giving military protection to throughout the world like this? I don't know. But it'll be interesting to watch the anti-Semites and the Israel haters, because they claim not to be interventionists. They claim to oppose these foreign, quote-unquote, entanglements. But they're going to love this because they figure it screws Israel, right? I just find it weird, really weird, because these are two states, regardless of what anybody else says, that hate each other, because Qatar's always wanted to overthrow Saudi Arabia. They tried at first to do it with the Houthis. Qatar's behind the Houthis. They've destroyed Yemen. Qatar was behind Hamas. And now Saudi Arabia is going to get jets to fight whom? Seriously. They're not going to fight the Israelis. I mean, they barely say a harsh word between each other. No, it's Qatar that's tried to overthrow the... So you basically have royal inbreds versus royal inbreds, and we're going to give them much more advanced equipment. We're going to give them protection. At some point, Congress has to take a look at this. We're making literally military and national security commitments. This is a role for Congress, you know. This truly is. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our brothers and sisters in Ukraine, our brothers and sisters in Israel, and you, red-blooded Americans. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you for being here. I'll see you tomorrow.